Feel like you're part of the game by watching the Kraken while skating on their practice ice. Join our skate and watch parties on April 7th and 10th to immerse yourself with fellow fans. You could go home a winner with a Kraken-themed raffle at each skate. Learn more and register at KrakenCommunityIceplex.com. Subscribe and score when you sign up for the Inside Edge, the Kraken's newsletter. Sign up before April 18th for a chance to win prizes like ice seats to a Kraken game, Brooks shoes, signed gear, and more. Go to seattlekraken.com/email for more info.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to another episode of Signals from the Deep. This is episode number 30. We are the official podcast of your Seattle Kraken. I am, of course, Piper Shaw, joined as always by JT Brown.
Happy to be here, ready to go for this next episode. Should be fun.
Yeah, this is our first one in a while that we've been on the road for, so we're just sitting in a hotel room in Chicago, coming to you all.
Can't complain, though. It's a nice room, nice view out in Chicago.
Yeah.
Good to see the city.
Definitely. There has been a ton of Kraken news and things that have happened since we've last recorded, so we have a lot to get through in today's episode. We haven't recorded since before the trade deadline, and just because of the way the game's timed out and, you know, our release schedule, like that's just kind of how things went. So I'm sure some of this is going to be old news to everybody at this point, but we still thought that we would offer some of our, you know, analysis, some of our thoughts on what went down, because we have, you know, a short window on the broadcast to talk about these things.
People want to know what we have to say, okay? That's why they're tuning in, right?
Yeah, hopefully. But we have to start with maybe some very big personal, professional news in the Brown family. Dr. Lexi Brown has published her first book in the last week. It came out, right? Last week?
Yep. It came out on March 11th. She's done a few different signings. One was at KCI. She's been down to Portland, you know, all for launching the book. But it's been a long time coming when the process of going through the book, obviously writing it, editing it, getting it to the point where it's actually a physical copy, you know, even just going from, you know, the arc or the original copy that you'd get to see, and then getting to the final one. So a lot has kind of gone into that. So it's been fun to see, you know, that process, one, but also to see, you know, people excited about it, right? And going to, whether it's a book talk or, you know, just going to the signings, and, you know, to be able to just walk into the Barnes & Noble at KCI and look and see, you know, what she's actually written. And, you know, for myself, it's a proud moment, but, you know, even for her, she gets to see, you know, how much hard work that she has put into it, and, you know, a dream or a goal of hers since day one, obviously going to school and finally finishing that, obviously wanting to write a book, and to see that whole thing come to life is, it's something that's very special. And obviously we're still going forward. It's just been out for about a week at this point, but still more to come. She's already working on book number 2 as well. So there's definitely a lot busier around the house at this time, but it's been exciting, and can't wait to see what else is in store.
Mm-hmm. Is book 2 supposed to be related to book 1, or is it like a separate story? If you're allowed to share. I don't know if you're allowed to share. That might be top secret.
No, she's posted on social about it as well. From what I'm understanding too, it's not like the exact same characters, not the exact same, but it's similar, but in a different world, I guess, if that makes sense. So you kind of will see some transparency like that kind of crossover, but it's not a sequel to the next or to the first book, kind of going into staying in the same hockey romance genre.
Universe.
The universe. So staying within that, but obviously not going to see the exact same characters. But no, it's I've gotten part way through that. I haven't finished the whole part of the first edit of that book, but no, it's definitely exciting, and obviously, it's a really cool moment to be able to see, you know, all of her hard work actually show up, and it's in a physical copy, and seeing the actual.
You can hold it.
Yes, no, and then also, like I said, just going to some of the events and being able to see all the people that are excited about the book, want to read the book, have read the book, but, you know, there to support her as well. So for our family, it's been fun, and thank you to everybody that's either, you know, got it, you know, sent messages on Twitter, Instagram, everything else. Obviously, the support is great, and I know she's definitely excited about Not only the first book, but what's to come.
I was going to say, you said that you're through the first edit of the second book? Is that what you were meaning?
No, I've started it. I haven't finished.
Of the second book, though?
Yeah.
So what is your role? How are you helping?
I'm not.
You're just reading,
Correct.
letting her giving her notes?
Yeah,
checking if all the NHL references are in line, or
no, she obviously knows.
knows.
There's times where she'll ask me questions about, whether it's like CBA stuff or, what would a practice be like after a game, or, this is the road trip, what would happen, or what's normal, so just little things like that. But I'm in really no position to give editing advice to a person who has a PhD. If we're going to be honest, I just am reading it to read it. And, at the end of the day, it's a form of showing support and wanting to understand and to see what's going on. Although I will say I did catch an edit in the first book, which was pretty, I thought it was pretty good. So at the end of the day, so maybe I did help.
Was it like a typo, or was it like a story plot hole or something?
No, it was more of just a typo that I picked up on that nobody really picked up. Again, she might get mad at me, but actually I don't think she will.
No.
It was, they were having a shot of tequila, and it was with a lemon, and I was like, she was like, I don't know, we just read it. You go through the book so many times through your editing process that you just overlook it, and your brain says, it's a lemon, but it should be a lime. I'm like, no one's going to have a shot of tequila with a lemon. Like, you need a lime. So I added that. So then they were able to fix that and put it back in. So I thought that I was like, all right, there's my one piece of help and advice.
I don't do a lot of tequila shots in my life, but if I do, I like them with oranges. Oranges and cinnamon.
You could
try it. Try it with an orange and with cinnamon. It's way better if you're ever finding yourself in that situation. Although a lot of bars, they don't just like have cinnamon sitting at the front, but sometimes they're willing to go the extra mile.
Sometimes it's nice too to just have another set of eyes. Obviously, like the editors and her, she's read the book and gone over it how many different times to get to the final process. And me coming in from a completely different viewpoint. Wouldn't say I read the most books going through my time, but at the end of the day, it's just a different viewpoint. And again, I picked up on something that I do enjoy tequila shots. So, hey.
Yeah, well, it's cool that you guys have a hockey romance, and now you guys have, it's hers, but you have a small part in it, and you've been supporting her, and it's big for your family to have a hockey romance novel. That's kind of special. It's cool.
No, it's been awesome. So I'm just, like I said, excited, and we're waiting to see what comes next for everybody else. I can't give out any spoilers, though.
Yeah, no spoilers. But everybody, I don't think we said the title of the book. The book is called Shoot Your Shot.
Correct, yes.
And I know it's in a ton of local bookstores, and you can get it online, too, or find it on Lexi's Instagram.
Yeah, obviously, go to her Instagram. I think she has a bunch of different places, but Amazon, and I've seen it at Barnes & Noble. Like you said, all of the local bookshops. She's gone around signing books, so if you happen to run across one, you might get a signed copy, so definitely check it out.
Yeah. Well, speaking of shooting their shot, Brandon Montour is the NHL's third star of the week at the time that we are recording this. 6 points in 3 games. I love your guys' little banter. You guys have a funny relationship that I wish fans could see more of because it's hilarious. But what have you seen from Monty lately? He's just been on fire.
Yeah, I think, a lot of it's similar to how he normally would play, but maybe just adding a little bit more of the offensive side to it. He's been very active when it comes to jumping into the rush, leading the rush at times as well. And, I think the one thing that I've noticed the most is he is shooting a lot more. It seems like as soon as the puck moves its way back to the point, he's already got his mind set on delivering that puck, not always necessarily looking for another play or maybe not even going D to D, just getting pucks down and around the net, and good things end up happening. I even look at the goal where he was net front. That's not a spot where you find a defenseman very often. Yes, it ended up going off of his skate and in, but he's still there. He's creating another just layer of attack, getting himself to the net front, and obviously Eberle did a great job just throwing it towards the net, and yet go to the blue paint, good things can happen. It doesn't always have to be, the one-timer, the slap shot that goes into the top corner, but from the defensive side, just being very active, breaking up a play, but then wanting to jump and be a part of that offense. And it really does help the forward as well when you have that defenseman, even if they don't get it, whether it's Monty, whether it's Vince Dunn, any of the defensemen that are jumping into the play, it really does help the forwards, give them a little bit more time, a little bit more space. If they can occupy, one of the defensemen or occupy a lane, it just opens things up for the forwards as well.
Yeah, and it seemed like him, Stevie, Jordan, and others obviously as well. Tolvi, like they've all been clicking so well too since Jordan has getting back to like just full game speed, just getting better and better. And I feel like I've said this like 10,000 times in the last 2 weeks, but when Jordan was coming back from injury, he said one of the many bummers of being out was that he was looking forward to getting to play with Brandon Montour and Chandler Stevenson, you know, the big free agency signings over the summer, and he barely got to. So it's cool that not only has he been playing alongside Stevie and they've been super productive with Tolvi on that line, but also we've seen Jordan and Monty connect several times as well and develop some great chances and score.
No, I mean, when they're playing, when the offense is clicking for the Kraken, it definitely does. It works, right? You see the opportunities that they do get, and it's almost like you're playing a little bit of a more freeing hockey right now. They're understanding where guys are going to be. Obviously, with Eberle coming in, it's a little bit different, right? You haven't had the amount of time. But I think, you know, when you get to play with your defensive pairs a little bit more in Montour's situation, you start to understand, when can I jump in? Is my defensive partner going to be going back, or is a forward covering for me so I can pinch down as a defenseman? You start getting a little bit more confidence within that. And just the way that the team has been playing, especially as of late, a lot of those offensive opportunities, you just see the creativeness coming out, and, you know, obviously just trusting and going with their gut. And I think that's what you're seeing a lot with Montour. You're seeing that with Stevie as well. They've been playing fantastic hockey, but they're just trusting their gut and they're just going out and they're playing.
Yeah, and related to that too, it's just been, you know, as people who are more up close and personal with the team, I think it's been so awesome to see Stevie and Monty really embrace the fact that they've signed these long-term deals and they act like it. Like in the room, you can tell that they really care about what's happening with like the culture of the room, and they're always getting guys involved. Monty's always with the young guys on the plane and chirping everybody and really like making sure that even, you know, staff members feel like included in conversations and stuff. And I think that's been really positive. And then obviously, more importantly, the on-ice production, obviously, but it's they've been big for kind of the culture, I think, too, both of them. And that's great to see.
It's important too for, you know, guys, obviously, you know, coming into a new team this year, to establish that as well. They obviously have been leaders on their team, and they can do that whether or not you have a or you have a C on your jersey. There's multiple leaders within, and everybody can lead in different ways. And again, you talk about Monty just having the smile, always bringing in the young guys, whether it's, you know, staff as well. Like even just today, you know, I turn around on the plane and he's got a smile on his face like, what do you want? And obviously I had something to say to him, but, you know, at the end of the day, he's always got that, you know, that mentality. He's always ready to joke. But at the end of the day, you know, when he comes out there and plays, it's all business. And you see that within what he's doing out on the ice. He's not afraid to, you know, lay somebody out, lay a big hit, jump into the play. He's always yapping between the benches. And again, I just think you look at Stevie too, and just how reliable he can be out there on the ice. You know, obviously the face-off dot is a huge aspect of, you know, of his game, but he sees the ice so well. He's always incorporating everybody that's on his line, you know, whether the assist, the passing plays. Obviously, I think he can still shoot more. Yeah. But at the end of the day, he's always making more than not making the right play or the right decision. And, you know, at the end of the day, when they're clicking, when everybody's rolling, it's a very fun team to watch.
Yeah. Stevie on the PK against Winnipeg too. Yeah. Yeah. Also, I love Stevie always has his son around at home games. Ford, I don't know exactly how old he is. I guess he's 3 or 4 because I know that he was born when they were in Vegas, but he is not only so stinking cute, but he's literally like just around in the hallway all the time. Like every time they're coming off the ice, and Stevie always just like picks him up, like coming right off the ice. And it's just like, to me too, it's like, that's kind of a sign too, that it's just like, it's family at the rink, you know, and I think that's cool. So yeah, it's been positive. So anyway, shout out Brandon Montour, NHL's 3rd star.
That'll cost him.
Of the week. Yeah. Oh yeah. I had one more thing on this too. Every time he comes over to me for an intermission interview, he starts trying to talk in my mic, and he's like, tell JT to shut his mouth. And he's like, tell JT to just quiet down. He's like, tell him to pipe down, Piper. I'm like, okay, Monty, he cannot hear you, but let's get this interview done.
You know, that another time, I'm gonna get back at him for this one. You know, obviously we do have a fun relationship going back and forth, but you know what? I'm gonna get him too. Yeah, I got Schwartz is on my list, and Monty's still on my list now. I got some time still.
Yeah, you got a couple weeks, but if you're trying to get it in before the season ends, the prank's coming. I don't think they listen to this podcast, but if they do, guys, head on a swivel. JT's coming. All right, so we haven't recorded since the trade deadline. We got to talk about some of these trades. Obviously, you know, the really big, important players from the beginning of this franchise. So start with the big one. Some people felt like this was, the biggest trade of this year's trade deadline. So Jani Gord, Oliver Bjorkstrand, and a 2026 fifth-round pick go to the Tampa Bay Lightning in exchange for a first-round pick in 2026 and a first-round pick in 2027 and a 2025 second-round pick plus Mikey Eyssimont. Just your maybe initial thoughts on this deal. I know you and Jani obviously were very close. You've also played in Tampa with him, so you have a unique perspective on, I think him going back there as well.
No, I mean, I think it's anytime you trade players, especially, ones who have, put the time and been with the team for a while and, what they mean to a team, it's tough, right? Like you never really want to see your friends go, whether, you talk about Jani, but even just everybody in the locker room. It can be a difficult time, obviously, but at the end of the day, you understand the NHL, it is a business, and how do you move forward, from there? And I think that's the hard part, especially, fans go through as you fall in love with players. They're your favorite player, and, end of the day, they might end up being gone the next year. But I think that when you go to it and you look at the return that was given and where the Seattle Kraken are trying to go, you have to look at it and be like, yeah, it is a positive. Obviously, it's hard to lose guys like Jani where they bring the heart and soul, whether it's the penalty kill, physicality, not afraid to drop the gloves. Bjorkstrand as well, when you talk about his offensive ability, what he brought every single day. I think that part is hard to replace, right? When you're looking at it from a standpoint of like, all right, you get a first round pick in 2026 and 2027, so there's not that immediate return. And obviously we're going to get to the end part with Eyssimont does come back, so there's part of it, but you're like, you don't necessarily see it. You see those guys that have been there out on the ice, so it can be a hard situation, but again, you're just looking at the options and where this team can go moving forward, and having 2 extra first-round picks is huge, whether you draft them or not, right? They can be used at the draft to move to maybe get different players. So Ron Francis and the rest of the staff have a lot of different options that they can take with going through this route. And obviously going back to Tampa, especially for Jani in a situation where he had already played there. He had been there. He had won cups with Tampa as well. And, I've played in the organization. It's a fantastic place to be. So if he's going to go back, I'm assuming, obviously going back to Tampa was a place where, he would been obviously welcome back. But, from his standpoint, obviously being familiar, that makes it a lot easier. In a similar case to with Brandon Tanev, which we'll get to that one as well. You've been there, you've played within that system. And, even for Ollie to go there and go with a teammate like Jani.
With a line mate. I mean, when Jani was healthy,
and they had played so well, especially even you look at last year, how they had played on a line together for the majority of the entire season and the success that they had. And just to have that somebody that's been there and already kind of gone through it. And obviously they're a great team down in Tampa, and they were trying to get better as far as their depth. Obviously we know the point Kucherov and Gensel as their top line, and to try to find a little bit more scoring. And that's what Ollie could do for them. As much as you're sitting there, you're saying, hey man, it's tough to see those guys go, but at the end of the day, you look at them from a friend or from a player standpoint, and all the guys in the locker room, they wish them all the success as they move forward. But it's tough. You're going to end up missing it, but I think you don't really see the true benefits of what a trade happens, until those picks are done. Well, maybe that pick gets moved to another pick, so it could be years down the line before you fully see, everything that's transpired from the trade. But it happens every single year, but it doesn't necessarily make it easier. But I think when you look at it from a organizational standpoint, to be able to have those extra picks and to be able to use those in whatever way they decide to better this team, not only for next year, but for the years incoming.
Right. Yeah. And also, obviously, Jani was on an expiring contract. And it seems like this is just my inference. We have no insider information, but it seems like there's probably a desire to keep him in Tampa longer. His wife, Marie, has posted quite a bit that they are, so happy to be back in Tampa. They fully packed up their house in Seattle, fully went back to Tampa. So hopefully, that's positive, for their family too, from a human aspect. And for Oliver to go with Jani, I mean, it's you hate to be traded, I would imagine, but to get to go with Jani, somebody who's one of, your closest teammates and who's so beloved there, that's got to be, kind of a nice consolation.
Yeah, I think you have to
kind of in a way.
Have to turn around, like you said.
Yeah, they have a chance to win a cup. Let's go.
I don't think anybody ever is sitting there, does happen, right? There are people who ask for trades, it goes through, but obviously, I think they like the situation here. Things were fine, and at the end of the day, you do get moved, right? But at the same, you can try to turn it around and say, it's just a new opportunity. But like you said, you got on a team right now that has an opportunity to win a cup, and that's what your goal and your focus is. So you kind of get to move on, and things happen so fast. Sometimes you don't really have enough time to truly process that. But again, at the end of the day, you just wish everybody the best moving forward.
Yeah, and so then in that trade, the Kraken also got Mikey Eyssimont. And what have you thought about how he's fit in? He's been playing on the fourth line there, but he's been pretty productive for the amount of minutes and the situations that he's been playing in.
Yeah, he's got 2 goals already so far this year, and I think the one thing he does bring speed. He also plays with a little bit of an edge. Obviously not to compare directly towards Jani, but you lose a guy like Jani, and you get a guy in return that can go play on the fourth line. That can be a little bit of an energy guy, can be a buzzsaw. And you see that speed, you see his willingness to dive down into the corners. But I also love the fact, going to the net front. We talk about all the time on the broadcast, that's where you go, that's where the goals are scored. And he's willing to do those little things. And I think the biggest part is just showing off that speed. And going back to his last goal back at Climate Pledge Arena, and great move at the blue line, went in on a 2-on-1. It was able to beat the goalie 5-hole. And, so he shows a little bit of that skill as well, being able to have the 2 goals so far right now. And again, for him, it's a new opportunity as well, right? Get to be on a team. Maybe you can find your way into a more elevated role than you maybe had in Tampa. Obviously, he's still playing right now on the fourth line, but this is an opportunity for him. He needs another contract as well, so he's playing for that next job too.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you could see that too in like the interview that I did with him in that Winnipeg game where he had that great goal. And I asked him about him, like, this is your first goal here in Climate Pledge Arena. And the building was loud. It was so loud in there, and it was only the first period. Like, it was already electric. So I was kind of asking him about the energy, and he was like, it doesn't matter that I scored that goal if we don't win. And I mean, it's kind of a hockey player answer, but that is to me, that's the answer of somebody who wants to play for a job and wants to win some games and is like, so I'm like, hey, hats off.
Get comfortable, and you can see him, within the system and starting to play. And obviously, again, big aspect. He is a fast player. He could get in and disrupt the forechecks. But again, love the fact he also already, this many games in, stepping up, trying to help out a teammate, getting into the scrums as well. And that goes a long way with the room as well. So when you're talking about coming into a new team, wanting to establish yourself, wanting to get to know everybody, and he's out there stepping up for guys, and that's a good sign.
Yeah. I also, side note, as you know, I went to college with Mikey. At St. Cloud State University, and he was in like similar circles with a lot of my friends and stuff. He was Will Borgen's roommate in college, and on his first day with us, we were in Nashville, and I didn't have a chance to go say hi to him yet. So he comes out to do this media scrum, and there's Nashville media there, all these people, and he kind of steps out into this front of the backdrop, and he gives me this look like, I think I know you, but he can't really say anything because it's like this group interview, and then it's done, and he's like, Piper? He's like, from St. Cloud? I'm like, yeah. So that's been kind of cool to like connect with him, because then I was thinking about it. I'm like, because I asked him, I was like, do you know anybody here? He's like, I don't know any of these guys. He's like, I've played against them, but I do not know any of the guys on the Kraken. So I'm like, I guess I know Mikey so far better. Probably not at this point now, at the time that we're recording this, but he's got 2 cats back in Tampa. He told me he loves his cats. He's rescued a cat for each hurricane that he's been there. I'm like, all right, that's cool. So
I can get down there. I like cats too. So
I know you were talking about maybe getting one, weren't you?
I'm still thinking about it, but
yeah,
I gotta do this in process. I've already. Side note, I have bought an animal without actually like going through the process. I bought a dog, the second one, because I thought the second one would be Lexi's dog.
That's not how it works.
But it did not work that way, and I didn't tell her. And I was like, just so you know, you have to. I bought a dog last night at like 1:00. And it's going to be at the airport in 3 days or whatever, the 4 days. And I'm like, you're going to have to go pick him up. I'm on the road for the next 7 days. So you're going to have to go pick up our dog.
When was that?
When we lived in Tampa.
Oh, my gosh.
We had Sully, and then I got booed. I saw the picture. It was a little miniature husky, and it had the left ear in the picture, had a floppy ear.
Wait, you had Sully and Boo?
Yeah.
Oh, my, because you love Monsters, Inc. Yeah. That's right.
So those are the names of our dogs. And then obviously, we ended up having to rehome them when we got to Minnesota. Long story. Don't have to go into that now. Yeah. But I still love animals. Yeah. And I want to get a cat at some point, because I'm more of a cat person than a dog person.
And the lifestyle. Like, I have 2
Correct.
cats.
It's
but
very
hard.
Hard.
It's impossible. And my husband travels too. And it's just like, I would love to have a dog, but he loves golden retrievers. But I'm like, and who's going to walk that dog when we are both gone for 3 weeks at a time? What are we doing? Like,
correct. No,
when are we spending time with this animal?
I do want another animal, but again, like you said, our schedule is very tough. But at the end of the day, I don't know, Lily keeps bugging me about getting a cat. And I'm like, I do want one, but...
Lily deserves it. Yeah.
She does. But we're going to... Maybe when she's like 10.
Yeah. Also, shout out Allison Lucan. She tried to adopt a cat a couple weeks ago, Meatloaf, but the cat was in like Northern California and they just never responded. And she was emailing because it was a very special cat. So, Meatloaf, we hope you are somewhere well, because Allison would have loved to be your new mother. So, all right, let's move on. We got more trades to get through now that we finished our cat chat. Brandon Tanev, we alluded to this, obviously. Brandon Tanev to the Winnipeg Jets for a 2027 second-round pick. We are, at the time of recording this, just having played Winnipeg and seeing him in that game. What do you think of this trade? And also kind of maybe how Mikey helps fill that spot a little bit that he brought, too.
Yeah, in a similar fashion, we were talking about Jani, and again, the way they played. Tanev and Jani both played their heart out every single game. Whether it's the penalty kill, laying in front of blocking shots, they have that tenacity, and we saw that in the game, right? Like, even though Brandon Tanev was traded to Winnipeg Jets, he's playing against a team that he's been here over the last 4 years and going through, and he's not going to change his style, right?
He laid a hit on Shane Wright. People were mad about it.
He's still going to play the same way. And, from my standpoint, I'm like, I didn't expect anything else from, Turbo going through, playing the game. And, that was what I was referencing as well, where Mikey Asimon stepped in after Wright had been hit. Cartier did as well. Yeah. They both got in there. Obviously, cooler heads ended up prevailing in that situation. So, another situation much like Jani, though, where you're talking about Tanev and, getting to go back to Winnipeg in a spot where – he started his career and he was able to play.
They gave him his big break,
And to be able to go back and to go back to a system or go back to a place where you're familiar, I think that makes the transition easier. And it's never easy, again, losing guys like that, especially ones that are, we can call them fan favorites, guys who play a certain way that's, sometimes going away when...
Hard to find.
When hockey is concerned. And not every team, or every team would love a guy like Brandon Tanev. Every team would love, that Yanni Gourde, because there's just not many guys who want to play that way, want to sacrifice as much as they do, out on the ice. So obviously it's tough to see, him leave. But again, you look at the business aspect, you look at the picks, you look at what the contract situation was, where things were going with Seattle. And again, you end up getting a second round pick in 2027. And again, it's all about how do you manage that? How do you manage your prospect pool that's, not that's in the junior hockey. That's, obviously in the American Hockey League, we're getting to see guys come up right now and how they've been playing. So you kind of get to see where the Kraken are starting to go, or where their strengths are, what do they need to address, I guess, in the offseason. And you have the picks, you have the ability to either draft those players or make some extra moves so that you can get somebody that's ready right now.
And similar to the Yanni Oliver trade, Brandon gets to go somewhere that is the top team in the NHL. The Jets, right now, as the time we're recording this, they're the best team in the league. So, and somewhere that he's beloved. So, out of all the places that he could land,
it doesn't always work that way, right?
No, 100%.
Especially when, players have already played there and, had established themselves into that city, into those communities, to be able to go back and, have those cities welcome them back with open arms. It has to feel great for those players. But at the same time, I think all hockey players understand that as much as it's fun and we're playing, it is a business. You understand the situations of, whether it's the contract, where are you going to play, and it doesn't always work out where you get to go to, say, a preferred destination. If you had to be moved, it doesn't always work that way.
100%. I do know, though, I believe, because I think he's talked about it a couple times, that Ron tries to, work with the guys. He does care about the person to an extent as well. So I know we've seen that with other trades in the past, too, that, he's made, like Mason Appleton, back to Winnipeg as well, who's there. So, anyway, and then the last one that we have, Daniel Sprong to the New Jersey Devils for a 2026 7th-round pick. He was obviously playing with the Coachella Valley Firebirds. It was lighting it up down there, so I'm sure that he is happy to be getting another opportunity in the NHL. And the Devils, they need the firepower right now, so, so good luck to all of those guys. We'll miss you, but keep it up. So, we have more Kraken news to get to as well. We have a new leading goal scorer In the forward group, Eeli Tolvanen, for the first time in his career, is a 20-goal scorer. At the time of recording, he's sitting at 21 because he also hit the empty net on Friday night against the Utah Hockey Club. I know you like Eeli's game a lot. What have you seen from him lately that you kind of point to as why he's been able to be so productive?
I mean, he's got a great shot. That's first and foremost. We see that time and time again. The big part about that, too, is he's done the majority of his damage he's only got one power play goal right now. So you look at being able to score and to get yourself into those positions at even strength. That's not easy to do, and he's been able to do that. Obviously, he's got great hockey instincts to find those lanes to go, but when he gets that time and he has an opportunity to shoot and he lets it go, it's got a chance. There's not that many. I mean, obviously, you look around the league, and obviously every team has players, but he's one of those guys on this team that can beat a goalie with the shot without having a screen or without having to have, the puck movement from side to side and going cross crease. He can just beat a goalie one-on-one, and that's what you see with the shot. But also just look at, his tenacity. He does play with a little bit of an edge, too. Maybe not as much as you're saying, like the instigating type or, the AC Mont getting in the corners and want to do that. But he also leads the Kraken and hits. Yeah. So when he's not shying away from anything, and I think that just goes to show that, you can do it all. Or he has a fully well-rounded game when it comes to the forecheck, getting into the corners, which helps his teammates as well. You look at how successful, just turning over one puck because he gets in and he's on the forecheck, or he laid a hit on a defenseman earlier in the game, and now that defenseman takes an extra second to look over their shoulder, and now they make the wrong play. And Evs is running, Correct. And then it goes to the next player. So, again, I think it helps in a lot of ways. I think we've seen him get on the penalty kill as well. Obviously, you lose two penalty killers when you're talking about Jani Gordon. You're also talking about Brandon Tanev, so you have to find a way to replace those guys. So he's getting a elevated look, just not only from moving around the lineup and getting to play up in the lineup with Chandler and Everly as well, but you're seeing him get more minutes and staying in the groove, just going out on the penalty kill. He's not afraid to block shots. And again, to see a guy that can score the way he can score, but still wanting to be as physical as he is out on the ice, like you said, leading the Kraken when it comes to hits, you don't see that very often as well. So as far as a well-rounded game, obviously I love what he does. You see the shot, and we hear Edzo talk all the time. Like if he gets on the power play, do you think he could have 4 or 5 more goals at this point? If he had a consistent role on there, and maybe that's where you see, maybe going into next year, you see those type of things. And I think at the end of the day, he has a high ceiling still left to go, even though this is the first time getting to that 20-goal mark. I wouldn't be surprised if he stays there. It's just good to see the growth and the development, right? Like, obviously, I think first of all, he was taken off of waivers. What a claim that was right there, obviously from Nashville. And, it took him even a while to get into the Kraken lineup. And then you start seeing, all right, then he's scoring, he's getting closer. And, I never got to it, but 20 goals is a milestone. Like, to be able to get to 20 goals in a season, kudos to him. But also, I know there's more. I think he knows there's more. Yeah. And, it's all about just getting there. And he said he still is young. He's still finding his way. And so far, so good. Yeah.
He even said the other day when we were talking to him in media about getting to that 20-goal mark, he's like, I've just felt like I've been so close every year, just hovering at 16, 18, around this time of year earlier, and then just having things slow down as we headed down the stretch. So I think it was almost like a sigh of relief for him, because I think that he fully believes and expects that he could and should be a 20-goal scorer 100%. Every single year. So I think for him, it's more like he's like, I've met my, a personal expectation, and I can do better, which is also awesome to see and great for the future of this team. So since Tolvi has been the talk of the town lately, we figured that you should hear from him and his teammates about the groove that he's been in. You scored your 20th and your 21st goals of the season. You lead the team in scoring. What do you attribute the success to?
No, I feel like as a line, we've created a lot. With those two guys, they always tell me to shoot the puck, and that's what I'm trying to do. And they're special players. They can make plays, and there's a lot of guys that can't. And when you play with those that kind of players, you just have to go to the net and be ready to shoot. How meaningful is it to you personally to have this kind of season yourself? No, it's big, of course. I think last couple of years I've hit the 18, and then the last 10 to 15 games I haven't scored a goal, so it feels good now to get the 20 and 21st. Thank you for your time, Eeli. Congratulations. Perfect, thank you. All right, well, let's talk about another Finn that's also been lighting things up. I feel like this year has been in a couple of ways like the year of the Finnish
people or the Finnish guys for our team, because we had Koko, the goalie, make his debut, obviously Kaapo Kakko, and then Tolvi the year he's had, and then now it's been Jani Nyman. Jani Nyman, 3 goals in the NHL, or 3 games in the NHL at the time we're recording this, and 2 goals, both on the power play. Family in the building throughout the homestand as well. They were so fun to watch. What do you think about how he's fit in and found his game at the highest level as he's 20 years old? I mean,
he's young, and again, he doesn't look fazed by it, right? I think that's the big thing. You see the first game, you see, is he going to be, over his head? Does he feel like that? But you don't see an ounce of that in his game. He's confident. He knows what he's going to do with the puck. And I was talking, through with John, I believe, in one of the periods, and I kind of just mentioned to him, like, this is the first game, that's where the nerves are, that's where the jitters are, and he's still playing like this. Imagine once he gets comfortable, once he starts to understand, even more so, whether it's system players-wise, because you're playing with a whole new group of people, getting to know the league as well. Think about how good he could be, right? And just from the glimpse that we've had, it's been short. Obviously, the shot is a huge aspect of his game as well. Yeah. We talked about Tolvanen being able to shoot. We've seen him on the power play with the Nyman taking his one-timer and hitting it off the post. He scored 2 power play goals. Great setups by Jordan Eberle. The goals are almost very similar from a down-low play with Eberle down at the goal line and him working his way towards the middle of the ice for a one-timer that ends up, going into the back of the net. So obviously he has the offensive instincts, but still at the other side he has size as well. He's 6'2". I believe 212 is what's recorded for him, and he uses his size. He uses his frame down in the corners, gets to the net front. He battles with some tough customers that he's had to go against, whether it's the defensemen or even forwards out in front of the net. He's not shying away from anything, and you can see his confidence. And even through the games as he's played, it's only been the 3 games, but you even look from game 1 to game 2, and then you look at game 3 as well for him to be able to keep progressing and to see that. It's been fun to watch. Obviously, anytime you get to score in your NHL debut is a pretty cool moment. Obviously, the game itself was an awesome experience, right? With the comeback and then Monty scoring the game winner in overtime, 4 seconds, set history there. But at the same time, you got to see, Jani score his first in the National Hockey League in his first game, family in the stands. Again, just a really cool moment.
Yeah, you talked about, too, how it's like, imagine, being him and you're this young, you don't know your teammates and all of those things, but also Jani is still learning English. And so that's another thing. It's like, even like the communication aspect, I would imagine, in the room and on the ice is a little bit different for him right now, too. So it's even more of a testament as he continues to learn in all kinds of ways and adjust in all kinds of ways. Like, even that, so.
Yeah, I'm not in the room, so I guess I don't know, but at least I'm sure it does help having, some other Finnish players on the team, and you could speak to them. And again, been in many locker rooms, and you'll hear, whether it's Russian, Swedish, French, like you'll hear all the different languages of the people that are in that locker room. So I'm sure at least that side of it does help.
Yeah, I know Tolvanen was saying that it's been nice to have like fellow Finns around and that he's been enjoying it and that he's been kind of like their leader almost. Like he's been playing darts with Kaapo Kakko and Tolvi is so funny. He's like secretly funny because he's quiet, so you really have to like listen to what he says. But he's like, he's like, well, I'm better at Kaapo at most things, but he did beat me in darts last week. I was like, okay, Ellie. But anyway, that being said, Jani gave us just a really awesome special post-game interview. He was a little bit nervous about it because he was a little bit nervous about TV and all of that because it was his first NHL game, but we wanted to share it with all of you because I think that you can, kind of hear his sincerity and how excited he was. So please enjoy.
Jani, congratulations on not only making your NHL debut tonight, but scoring your first goal as well with your family in the arena. What does this moment feel like to you?
Oh, this is very, very, very special night for me and my family. I don't know what I say, but it's very special.
When you saw that puck go in the back of the net, what was going through your mind?
Oh, it's awesome. I like it. I don't know. It's good pass to Jordan, and it's almost empty net, and I try to only shoot and score, and that's it.
How did the pace and the physicality of the NHL compare for you compared to the AHL?
Oh, yeah, of course this is the best league in the world, but it's feeling very good, very good. It's so fast, but I think I playing good.
What do you want to say to your parents when you see them after this?
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Congratulations. What a moment. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, one more thing, too, that we also wanted to touch on as it relates to this homestand and just kind of the Kraken hockey we've seen lately is Philipp Grubauer coming back from Coachella Valley, playing really well.
Yeah, it's been fantastic in his 2 games. Philly, you look at the Utah game as well, and there's moments throughout the game where, they could have had 2 or 3 goals in the period, but he stood on his head, and made those big time saves. So, I mean, it's really just a testament to him and obviously the coaching staff and being able, being willing to go down to Coachella Valley during the Four Nations break, to go down, get some games and try to recenter himself and find that game again. And we're seeing it out on the ice. I mean, you see him confident out there. You see him getting out to the top. He's challenging the shooters and, again, he's making those big saves. So, I mean, again, more just a shout out to him and to be able to come back and play those games. Go down there, you have a successful run down in Coachella and come right back. And, it's almost like, no, he didn't miss anything. He didn't miss a beat. He's just going right with it. Obviously, Joey's been playing fantastic as well. He's been doing what he's done all season. But I just think that, you look at those games and how he's played, he's been top notch. He's been right exactly how you'd expect, or you would say, all right, that's Gruby's game. That's the Gruby that you want to see on a nightly basis. And again, I just look at those games and, he's a big reason why you're able to win those games.
Definitely. I also want to say that I'd encourage you all to go onto the Kraken's website and look for a piece that we ran on the Kraken Hockey Network recently. It was Joey Daccord and Philipp Grubauer talking about mental health and managing their mental health as goalies and athletes and just as men as well. And I felt like the two of them, they were so open and willing to have this conversation with me that could be, uncomfortable or feel vulnerable. And for them, they were just totally open about it because it has to be such an active part of their preparation and of their managing of their bodies because their minds as goalies. I mean, as hockey players and athletes in general, it is so important and people, but particularly, for goalies and the pressure that they face. So I would really encourage you, if you missed it on our network, to go check it out because I felt very inspired and like I learned a lot too, just listening to them. So
I don't know how they do it. First and foremost, that's all I'll say. Don't know how anybody plays goalie. There's way too much involved with that. Nope. Nope.
Yeah.
Whether it's right or wrong, they're like, oh, if you lost the game, it's your goalie's fault. If you win the game, it's the forward who scored at the end of the day. So they don't always get the credit. Obviously, there are games where goalies stand on their head, but it's just a stressful position to play. And again, I don't want anybody shooting a 100-mile-an-hour puck at me either. But again, kudos to them.
Yeah. Also, that this part of the interview didn't make the cut ultimately because me and Phil were just like joking around. But I asked him something about like what he loves being a goalie, and he was like, "Oh, I just love having people shoot pucks at my head." Like he was just kidding, and I was like, "Okay." But it's sometimes because he has such a dry sense of humor. Sometimes it's kind of hard to tell if he is kidding or not. But I'm like, I have to assume that he's kidding about that. But it happens every day. Like, that's his job. So maybe
every day in practice. I mean, that's what I always said. If I ever hit the goalie in the head, I'm like, hey, sorry, but you chose to play this position, okay? Like, that's not my fault.
Yeah. I don't know if Joey chose because Joey's dad was a goalie and all of that. I mean, he loves it. And I always say when we share, like, Joey's feature, like, it takes a special kind of person to be a goaltender. And
100%.
And yes, yeah. Also, this last week, we had Women in Hockey Night at Climate Pledge Arena. And it was a really awesome night. I thought that the in-arena programming, they did so much to try to highlight so many different stories in the organization. King 5 did a great story on Haley, who is Bowie's best friend, who you see her always running around with Bowie. That's really fun. There's some great written stories and some video features as well on the Kraken's website. So from Namita and Princess and Alex Mandricki, one of our assistant general managers, to, of course, Coach Jessica Campbell and Caitlin Parker. Like, there's so many great stories online. So I would encourage you all to go check some of those out too, because there's lots of different people that make this Kraken hockey thing happen from so many different areas. So we also have a little teaser for everybody for a future episode of Signals from the Deep. We've been trying to nail down this guest for a while.
It's busy.
Very busy. He is very popular because he is a prime member of the media, you could say. He's going to hate that, or he's going to love it. I don't know. But we finally have secured a date where we can get the one and only John Forslund.
We get the announcer.
The announcer, John Forslund, or as I accidentally said to him on air the other night, Josh Forslund, because I had Josh Mahura on the mind for my story. And what's funny is that there is one Josh in the booth, and that's you, not him. But yeah, Josh and Josh up in the booth. No, John. So we finally have been able to find a time that he's going to come on. So I believe that's probably going to be episode 32 by the time it airs, which we were saying is special because of 32. But he's got so many great stories and so many things that we are so lucky to be close to him and privy to get to hear about, and so much knowledge and wisdom that he has. So I just want to encourage you guys to keep your eye out for that.
He's got a lot of stories, so it might be a long one. I'm just going to point that out, but it's going to be a fun one. I can't wait to have him on, and stay tuned.
Yeah, he's very busy, so it's been hard. We've been talking about this like all year, but he's just, he's doing the Amazon games, and he's doing TNT games, plus our games, so he's just never in one place for like more than a day at this point, but he's the best, so look out for that.
I don't feel bad for him. He's got tons of frequent flyer miles now, so you know what?
True.
He's moving around.
He also loves it. I mean, he loves nothing more than to call hockey games. Like, it is his passion. It is literally, calling is his calling.
100%.
So, no, he's living his dream 100%. So, yeah, anyway, do you have any other final thoughts? I feel like this was an action-packed episode here.
We had a lot to go through. So, right now, no. But look forward to the next one.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Signals from the Deep, wherever you are. We hope that you are doing well, and we appreciate all of the wonderful members of the Kraken crew, the Kraken Nation. You guys rock. If you have any questions for us, as always, feel free to send them to us on Twitter or Instagram, or I am on Blue Sky. You are not on Blue Sky, though, right? No.
Nope.
So anyways, or we also do have a phone number that you can find on our website as well to leave voicemails. So anyways, I believe that always runs at the end of the episode. Grant does a little plug. So anyway, thank you all for joining us very much. And wherever you are, go Kraken.
Signals from the Deep is the official podcast of your Seattle Kraken and is a proud member of the Kraken Hockey Network. Hosted by Piper Shaw and JT Brown. Music composed by Benny Drawbars. Production by Grant Beery. Have a question for the show? Send an email to signals@seattlekraken.com or call the hotline at 206-279-7810. Your message could be featured on an upcoming episode.
Insert audio here, please.
Good job. Okay.
Okay, refocus.